My dear students, I am sure you all are safe and taking care of yourself and your beloved ones in this pandemic situation. In this video, we are going to study important items of final accounts. Dear students, the final accounts of banking companies include the profit and loss account and the balance sheet. The financial year ends on 31st March every year. The bank also prepare half-year accounts on 30th September every year. The final account must be audited by a person who is duly qualified under the law. Every banking company must obtain the approval of the RBI regarding appointment of an auditor. Three copies of the balance sheet and profit and loss account together with auditor report must be submitted to the RBI within 3 months from the end of the period. Every banking company must file three copies of the final accounts and auditor reports with the registrar of companies because these uh, companies applicable both laws, that is the Banking Companies Act 1949 as well as the Companies Act 2013. So these accounts are also presented in the annual general meeting for the approval of the shareholders. The Companies Rules 1949 also prescribed that the accounts and auditor report should be published in a newspaper circulating at a place where the banking company has its principal office within 6 months from the end of the period. The RBI can conduct inspection of the books of accounts of the banking company at any time or on receiving direction from the central government. While preparing financial statements, banks have to follow various guidelines, directions given by RBI and Government of India governing the financial statements. Profit and loss account and balance sheet are prepared on 31st March every year by all the banks. They contain 16 schedules as under schedules forming part of Form A, balance sheet schedule, first capital schedule, second reserve and surplus schedule, third deposit schedule, fourth borrowing schedule, fifth other liabilities and provision schedule, cash and balances with RBI schedule, balances with banks and money at call and short notice, investments, advances, fixed assets, other assets, contingent liabilities, public bills for collection, and schedule forming part of B, that is profit and loss account. 13 interest earned, 14 other income, 15 interest expended, 16 operating expenses. These are the 16 schedules we using as a working note when we preparing and presenting the final accounts of banking companies. Here we study important items of the final accounts. So in that, first one is rebate on bill discount, second one inter-office adjustment, third money at call and short notice, fourth one bad debts and provision for bad debts, and fifth one is non-performing assets. Here, the first item, rebate on bill discount. It is also known as discount received in advance or unexpired discount or discount received but not earned. Its treatment is same as we do in the case of interest received in advance. Thus, if it is given only in the trial balance, the same will be show has a liability and will appear in the liability side of the balance sheet if you only give it the trial balance. You must remember these things. if it is given only the trial balance, the same will be shown as a liability and will appear in the liability side of the balance sheet. It means schedule number 5, other liabilities and provision. And second one is, if it is given in the adjustment, if rebate on bill discount given in the adjustment, in that case the same is deducted from the income from interest and discount, that is schedule number 13, income earned, interest earned in profit and loss account, in profit and loss account, and the same will be also appear in the liability side of the balance sheet. It means it show also schedule number 5 or the liabilities and provisions. So if it is given in the attachment, so first we deduct from the income from interest and discount. So schedule number 13, income earned, and the second effect is also recording with the schedule number 5, that is other liabilities and provisions. So this is all about rebate on bill discount. This is the compulsory item you come into the trial balance or in the adjustment. So you must remember both, if it is given only the trial balance or if it is given in the adjustment. This thing is most important. The second item, inter-office adjustment. The inter-office adjustment balance, if it debt should be shown under this head, only net position of inter-office accounts, inland as well as foreign, should be shown here. For arriving at the net balance of inter-office adjustment account, all connected inter-office accounts should be aggregate, and the net balance, if in debit, only should be shown representing mostly item in transit and unadjusted items. So bank has branches throughout the country and sometimes even outside the country. So while preparing the balance sheet, the head office find that some transactions remain unrecorded as the head office has not received an advice from the branch. The head office prepared inter-office adjustment account in its books and along with other transactions enters these transactions in inter-office adjustment account. This inter-office adjustment account appear on the asset side of the balance sheet if it is has a debit balance, and on the liability side of the balance sheet if it has been a credit balance. If we have given in the credit side, so it is a liability, and if it is a debit balance, it is an asset. So if we given in the trial balance, branch adjustment account or inter-office adjustment account in the adjustment as well as in the trial balance. So you, if given debit balance, you recorded in the schedule number 11 other assets, and if given in the credit balance, recorded in the schedule number 5 other liabilities and provisions. This is the uh, adjustment posting you recorded in the working note. The third item is money at call and short notice. The deposits made by bank with other banks and withdrawable only after giving a notice is called money at call and short notice. These deposits can be withdrawn by giving 24 hours notice. Money at short notice can also be withdrawn with 7 days notice. So when money at call, it means withdraw by giving 24 hours, and when you can also be withdrawn within 7 days by notice through. This is money at call and short notice. For the next item, bad debts and provision for bad debts. Entries are fast for writing off bad debts and for making provision for doubtful debts in the books of banks. However, these entries should not be reflected in the final account of the bank because it may damage the reputation of the banks and the confidence of the public may be lost. The Banking Regulation Act allows bank not to disclose the amount of bad debts written off and provision for bad debts. The amount of provision for doubtful debts is merged with provisions and contingencies. While debating into profit and loss account, this said amount is deducted from the advances shown in the balance sheet. It is necessary for banks to disclose the fact about existence of provisions in the statement of accounting policies. So, however, with effect from 1st April 1991, the above practice regarding bad debts and provision for bad debts has been discontinued. The amount for bad and doubtful debts has to be charged to the profit and loss account under the heading provision and contingencies. In the balance sheet, the amount advances in shown after deducting bad debts and provision for bad and doubtful debts. It means simply you remember that form number B, that is profit and loss account, under the second heading expenses, we recorded the first effect there under the provision and contingencies, and the second effect is schedule number 9, that is advances. We deduct the amount from the advances. So this is the bad debts and provision for bad debts adjustment. The next item, provision for taxation. Till recently, in the financial statements of banking companies, the treatment of provision for taxation was similar as that of provision for bad and doubtful debts discussed above. In the profit and loss account, the amount of provision for taxation was deducted from the income from interest and discount. As a matter of fact, only the net amount of interest and discount was shown, and an outsider could not find out the amount of provision for taxation made by the banking company and also the amount of real profit earned by the banking company. So that's why the same effect we made by the regarding bad debts. So here, if provision for taxation given in the adjustment, the first effect in the profit and loss account form B, there the second heading expenses, under that provision and contingencies we uh, show the first effect, and the separate effect schedule number 5 other liabilities and provision, and this is the adjustment we completed that way. Next item, acceptance, endorsement and other obligation, that is contingent liabilities. The seller, while selling the goods to the buyer, may insist on same person or surety or guarantor as the seller may not only depends on buyer personal credit. The buyer may give a particular person name as a surety or make arrangements with his bank so that the bank can accordance him in any one of the following three ways. That first, accepting a bill on behalf of the buyer drawn by the seller, or second, endorsing a promissory note drawn by the buyer and payable to the seller, or third, giving a guarantee to make payments if buyer failed to pay the amount. So these are shown in the balance sheet as a part of contingent liability. The next one is bills for collection. These bills are received by the bank from its clients to collect them on their due date from the acceptors of the bills and credit the amount to the respective client's current account. These bills are recorded in a special book wise bills for collection register and are not recorded in the books of accounts until they are released. Hence, there does not arise the question of passing double entry in respect of this bill. So they are shown as a separate item at the bottom of the balance sheet. So on the collection of cash, the entry is passed cash account debit to customer current account and to commission account if we charge commission there. So this is the entry. They are shown as a separate item at the bottom of the balance sheet. Not necessary to show the double effect, that adjustment. So you only single effect recorded at the bottom of the balance sheet after contingent liability. Now the next and last items, non-performing assets. Non-performing asset means what we see here. The RBI has issued guidelines for provision for loss on advances or credit facilities guaranteed by the banks. These guidelines are known as prudential norms. Non-performing asset means a credit facility in respect of which the interest and installments has remained past due for a specified period. I repeat again, non-performing asset means a credit facility in respect of which the interest and or installments has remained past due for a specified period. Thus, a credit facility that seeks to generate income for the bank is termed as non-performing asset. If a credit facility that seeks to generate income for the bank is termed as a non-performing asset, that is NPA. Accordingly, any loan facility which is overdue for interest or installment for a period of 180 days is considered as a NPA. These days you remember must 180 days is considered as a NPA. This period applies for term loan, overdraft as well as other advances. However, for agriculture loans overdue for two harvest season is considered as NPA with effect from March 2004. Banks have to classify their asset as NPAs if they fail to recover either a portion of principal or interest within 90 days instead of 180 days applicable earlier. So, non-performing asset means a loan or an account of borrower which has been classified by a bank or financial institution as substandard, doubtful or loss asset in accordance with the direction or guidelines relating to asset classification issued by the RBI. With the March 31st, 2004, a non-performing asset shall be a loan or advances where the interest and installment of principal remain overdue for a period of more than 90 days in respect of a term loan. Then the accounts remain out of order for a period for more than 90 days in respect of an overdraft and cash credit. The bill remain overdue for a period of more than 90 days in the case of bills purchased and discounted, and interest and installment of principal remain overdue for two harvest season but for a period not exceeding 2.5 years in the case of an advance granted for agriculture purpose, and the last, any amount to be received remain overdue for a period of more than 90 days in respect of other document. This is the NPA, and the NPA classified two categories. One is performing asset and second one is a non-performing asset. So in under the non-performing asset, substandard asset, doubtful asset, loss asset, these are the types. So we see here the types of asset for NPA or classification of NPA, that is advances. As per prudential norms, the advances of a bank are classified as under standard asset, means the advance which is not NPA is called performing asset or standard asset. Such an asset does not create any problem to the bank. It does not earn more than normal risks attached to the business. Then substandard asset. The amount of advance which is NPA for a period not exceeding 18 months is considered as substandard asset. The security available to the bank is inadequate. There is a distinct possibility that the bank will suffer some loss if deficiencies are not corrected immediately in future. Then doubtful asset. The amount of advance which is NPA for a period of exceeding 18 months is considered as doubtful asset. This type of an asset is considered as a weak because its collection is considered as highly improbable. For this purpose, the unsecured and secured portion are to be considered separately. The unsecured portion has to be fully provided. Provision is also to be made against secured portion as per certain percentage. And the last one is loss asset. The amount of advance which is identified by the bank or the auditor but which is not yet written off. The bank must write it off even though there is remote possibility of recovery of certain amount. So this is the classification of NPA, means non-performing asset. We can say that it is advances. So now I also discuss here the reason behind NPA. Why NPA is created? So first, absence of or non-effective background checking of a customer before sanctioning loan. Second, non-performance of the business or the purpose for which the customer has taken the loan. Now third, willful defaulter. Fourth one, loan sanction for agriculture purposes. And fifth, change in government policies leads to NPA. These are the reasons behind NPA. So in this video we see the some important items relating to the final accounts banking companies. I hope you all understood very well. If you have any query, you can ask me on the Google Classroom platform. You can uh, ask comment through. So there. So dear friends, thank you so much. In the next video, we will solve the first practical problem for the topic final accounts of banking companies. Once again, thank you so much.